Would you like to go to visit China or move to China because of study, working, or family visit, or other reasons? Do you have a pet that you have to take with? What does the pet transport look like? Let's have a look. Hi, how are you doing? I hope that you're really doing well. Today, I would like to share with you about our pet transport to China experience. So, first of all, your pet should have a flight. There are several ways. The first way is to fly with you. So, if your pet with the transport box has the weight over 8 kilograms, then it has to go to the cargo hold. This means that it cannot fly with you in the cabin, and you have to register this in advance, actually as early as possible. And you have to buy a transport box for it because most of the airlines just don't sell them. Or if you can find a suitable one, you can also borrow it. And there are some companies that will rent one, cost like, I don't know, 30, 40 euros per day, perhaps, depending on what size you are trying to borrow. And the other way is that the pet is not going to fly with you, then it has to be transported as cargo again, but perhaps in a separate flight. And you can book this whole service online via a pet transport company. Basically, there are a lot, but you have to find a good one, of course. And different companies have different contracts with different airlines, especially after the corona time. Not every airline is accepting the pet, not every company can make it fly. So you have to ask in advance. And we have here a really complicated situation with us. We have two dogs. One is the border collie. His name is Romeo. He weighs 26 kilograms. And the other one is Flipper. He's the dog of my husband and he weighs 18. He is a Beagle mix breed. So yeah, they are different. They have different size. And we have two dogs that we would like to transport. Of course, we have thought of letting them stay here. All our parents and friends would like to take them. But on the other hand, I mean, they might not be that happy, or they might be even unhappier if they are not with their masters together. So they are our families. So we cannot just leave them behind without knowing when we will come back. So after considering a lot, we decided to take them with us. But still, the Flipper, the smaller one, he is less problematic because of his size and his weight to transport. But he is older. He is almost 11 years old, and thank God he's not a big breed. Otherwise, he might be in the human calculation like 80 years old or even older, and that is not possible for him to fly overseas because the whole flight is just so stressful, and his heart is not, perhaps cannot make it. So thank God he's still young for the small breed, and it is still okay, and he's very healthy. So yeah, there is still a minimal risk, of course, every time. But yeah, we decide that he comes with us because he is very dependent on his master, on my husband. And yeah, I think he should stay with us together as a family. Yeah, so that part with the pet transport company we asked, and one company gives feedback very quickly, and it cost for the two dogs to move in China 6,000, like 800 or something. And the other company, they asked for 9,000 euros. So we just cannot make it or afford it because it is much more expensive in comparison to the flight tickets for human beings. So yes, we decide to take them with us in the same airline, in the same flight, and we have to register for them. And we have compared a lot of different airlines because the Chinese side is the problematic side because it was closed all the time. So there was almost no airlines or flight in between. And now has been opening, and there are more and more airlines. But still, there are a lot of airlines like Finnair that has still, very cheap flight tickets for the human beings, but not for the pets. Not that cheap, But at the same time, we don't have a direct flight. About that, I really can complain the whole series because I don't understand why there's still no direct flight between Berlin and Shanghai, two megacities. And this new airport, this BER, has been successfully built finally with 10 years delay or 12, I'm not so sure anymore, but over 10 years delay. And in 2012, my parents came to visit here in Europe, and they have got the message that they would land in the new airport, and that was just not completed at all. And finally, in 2022, my mother made to land in a new airport. And still there's no direct flight, so we have to transmit with thin air in Helsinki, and the condition is that you have to take your pets out and check in again, and the minimal stay transmit time is 3 hours, and we have our transmit time 2 hours and 40 minutes, which doesn't suit, and the next short transmit time is 8.5 hours, and in that case our daughter will not make it, so that's not an option for us anymore. And then we checked Air France, we checked like British Airways, we checked Turkish Airways, we checked the Qatar Airways, etc., etc. There are so many, like North Scandinavian, blah blah blah, but they just either they don't fly or they don't land in Shanghai, and instead they land just close to Shanghai because they are not allowed to, like KLM. And finally, we cannot find other options but just have to fly with Lufthansa, which is also very great. And with Lufthansa, we made to book 2 seats for our pets. And the first flight between Berlin and Frankfurt, for every flight, there are only 2 reserved seats for pets transport in the cargo hold. So if you plan to move to somewhere with your pets, please consider this in advance. You have to book your ticket in advance. You have to book for your pet as soon as possible after you got your ticket, because there is really limited transport seat for the pet. For the Lufthansa, there is this whole, a bunch of websites how to transport your pets with what kind of size of transport box. It has to be allowed based on this IATA International Pet Transport Regulations. So the box should not be too small. The pets should be able to stand inside and lay inside, etc., etc. And I will just add the link below in the description box. And also there is this whole checklist. I just printed 2 pages in one big page, and there are so many different points that you have to fulfill, otherwise it will not work. It's like, yeah, you have made sure that taking your pet with you on your journey as excess baggage in the air-conditioned cargo hold conforms to the current entry and exit regulations of all the countries concerned. Any necessary veterinary examinations, treatments, anything, passport for the pet, microchipping, vaccines. Yes, that you have to check. And the second part is the limitations from the Chinese side, right? And we have this whole explanations, the regulations, the standards from the Chinese government, and also from the Shanghai customs. And the Chinese side is just much more strict. And unfortunately, Germany is not one of the countries that have made some contracts with the Chinese customs, and that the pets can, get through directly just with the body check in the airport. And Germany belongs to the second group that doesn't have this kind of contract. So in this case, you just have to prepare for this kind of registration tables, and you have to prepare for the vaccines. There is a special requirement that your pet should have a kind of blood test work for the rabies, that the I think there is a list of laboratories, like in which country, what kind of which labs are allowed to do this blood work. And it was just ridiculous that in Germany there was only one lab allowed, and that lab in the document from the Shanghai or from the Chinese customs side, that lab just doesn't do it. So we asked, and then they said, no, we don't do the blood test work for rabies for private consumers, so you have to find another one. But there was no one, so we searched a lot, it was all in Chinese, so I have to search a lot, and I found like an updated list, but not an official one, which is this one, and there were like 4 or 5 germ labs on it. And we have also asked our vet, and they have just done the blood test work for another dog that has already been transported to China because of some working reasons of the families, and they also have given us the contact after they asked for the permissions, and we have contacted that family, and they have recommended us one of the labs that should work somehow. So finger crossed. We don't know, because they landed in another airport in another city, and we will land in Shanghai. And I know that Shanghai is famous for its very strict controls, so I hope that there will be no problems. Otherwise, the animals or the pets will either be sent back or destroyed. I really hope that that will not happen. We will let you know. And yes, in the list, we not only have to prepare for the rabies vaccine test, blood work test, but also have to prepare for a body check from the government side. So this should happen with a vet that is registered by the government, or in the government, in the bureaus, and he should kind of stample a formula that officially the dogs are checked and everything is fine with the chip number, everything, and also the vaccines. If nothing missed, then with the stample, and then we have to hand in this again on the border. And I have to say, it is really kind of scaring if you are doing this for the first time, because every tiny mistake your pet might be sent back or might be destroyed as a cargo. And if you don't have this vaccine blood test work that the rabies antibodies should be over 0.5 IU per milliliter in the blood, then the pets have to be kept in the pet observation. I'm not so sure which kind of organizations, for 30 days for the observation, and then you are allowed to pick up your pet. But the problem is, I have heard a lot that the pets were not taken care well, and after the pets come out, they have not only like shit everywhere, like their pees in their box, and it would not be cleaned, and they have skin problems, and or they are just starved or something like that. I'm not so sure if this is all just rumors, but I also, on the other hand, I also don't think that the Shanghai side, such a mega city, they would do like this, but I still don't want to risk. So we have prepared everything for months, and I really hope that this will work. We will definitely shoot a video just to let you know the process while we are flying, while we are doing all this check on the border, and we will just let you know afterwards. But this is the basic preparation, and unfortunately most of the dogs are in Chinese. If you would like to check on your own, if you would like to let your pet be transported with a transport company, it's much easier and more relief for you, but it is much more expensive. So I think these 2 factors, money and the risk, you have to balance somehow. Yeah, and I think I have not missed anything, so hope that this video is somehow informative and helpful if you are preparing for your pet transport. And if you have questions, just leave a comment below. I will try my best to answer from my side and based on my experience, or I will try my best to recommend you some organizations or pet transport companies that we have been in contact with. So I hope that you have really enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and if you have not subscribed, please subscribe and follow us and follow this journey. Take care.